like to welcome Dutch the Gipper O'Brien to the House. Minister, this bill is a technical bill, obviously allowing for various amendments to the Planning and Development Act 2000 and to extend time limits for the formulation of development plans, among other things. And all of this is very relevant and necessary, and given how important it is that there would be leeway and breathing space in view of the COVID-19 situation and the 18 months of disruption that's caused. Now, I notice that the main provisions of the bill will cease to have effect on the 1st of January 2014. And these sunset clauses are welcome in relation to all emergency and technical amendments arising from COVID. But I would ask why that date was chosen and not an earlier date. It seemed to me that the 1st of January 2023 would seem to make more sense. That would be 18 months from today, and that would seem to compensate for the 18 months or so of time lost since March the 20th. No issue with it being January the 24th or January 2024, as long as there's a good reason for doing so. But special COVID provisions should really just stand for only for as long as is absolutely necessary. Now, there may be some technical reason why that's necessary, so maybe, Minister, you can clarify that. I'd also welcome the provisions that make it clear that before extending the duration of existing development plans, they must take cognizance of whether such extensions would have any impact on the environment or on protected sites. The focus of this bill on local authority development plans brings to mind an issue that I mentioned recently during the second stage of the Affordable Housing Bill 2021, which is reaching its final stages in this House today. And that's the issue of the vacant site levy under the Urban Regeneration and Housing Act. And indeed, Minister, I had an amendment tabled on that subject at committee stage. And because of the guillotine, it just wasn't dealt with. And now it is before the House today, and I'll be interested to hear what you think of it at report stage. But I would ask you, Minister, as a former member of the Seanad and as somebody who contributed to the Seanad with distinction and with a very pleasant colleague as well, would you please use your influence with government to stop this disgraceful habit of guillotining legislation? And it's an absolute scandal that it should be happening at committee stage of legislation. And the legislation that you're bringing forward is extremely important, but we can sit as long as it's necessary to allow Seanad Éireann to tease out issues, especially at committee stage. Now, I don't know what goes on in the Dáil, whether it's happening, the cancer of this is happening to the same extent, but it is a serious problem in our body politic. It is diminishing public respect for the work that we have to do as legislators. And I would ask you to get outside of the government majoritarian mindset that I think is influencing this behaviour and urge respect for both the Dáil and the Seanad processes. Now, in that context, I hope to hear your thoughts on the amendment that I have proposed today, because the vacant site levy simply isn't working in the way that it was intended. As far as I know, only 10 local authorities seem to be in a position to enforce the levy. I think there were just 359 vacant sites registered across 22 local authorities as of December 2020, and 9 local authorities had registered no vacant sites. So you have a loss of revenue, and there's I think, well over $1 million uncollected in the levy as well. So you have a loss of revenue. You also have a strange situation where there may be those with eligible sites who are being levied and those with similarly eligible sites who are not being levied. So it seems to me that the problem is because you have this cumbersome requirement under the Act of local authorities identifying areas of housing need prior to registering properties which they would then levy. And the Act lays out a cumbersome method of doing so, and that seems to involve a significant burden of manpower and resources in order to assess. It seems to me that a couple of very simple amendments can be made to this system in the interest of a more efficient levy. Firstly, if you make it a requirement that properties which have been the subject of a grant of planning permission for residential development above a certain number of units, but where development hasn't commenced, that they should be considered to be vacant sites in the first instance. And if there was an element of self-assessment brought into the operation then, compelling landowners of such sites, which have been the subject of grants of planning permission to register their sites, you would at least ease the burden and ensure a greater level of registration of eligible sites. It would be then for the Council to identify whether such registered properties are indeed in an area of housing need before applying the levy. The requirement at the moment, there are a number of requirements. The property in question has to be obviously residential, it has to be in an area of housing need, and it has to be suitable for housing. So the local authority has to jump through these hoops, but there's clearly something wrong in the way it's working. I don't think it's delivering the revenue. I think what we need to do is to incentivise people who have land that needs to be developed, that's suitable for housing, to get on with it, and not to be sitting on properties in the expectation that property values would rise. So that's the thinking behind that, and I'd be grateful to hear. But I'm mentioning this because if it doesn't succeed today, I will be back with it, and it may very well be a relevant amendment to this legislation. Thank you.
Okay.